Okay. So as I mentioned, the first 3 or 4 slides, it's common for all the cloud computing stuffs. And after that, we'll be taking AWS as our standard one. It's a tool up, or we can also think this is a cloud provider. So based on that, we can how the AWS console looks like, how we can spin up new services, where we can find what kind of services. So the main fundamentals, generalized stuffs on top of the portal, as I mean AWS portal itself. We're learning today. Okay, yeah, I think you can already see my screen. Okay, first of all, what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of compute power. Okay, so it's online delivery, on-demand delivery, whatever we can say. A compute power. Compute power means the computer is helping us doing the computational part. So the same thing we can demand online. It's not only compute power nowadays. I mean, based on the data engineer's perspective, all the database, all the ETL tools, all the visualization tools, everything's getting shifted into cloud providers. Okay, what is the concept I'll be telling? So, cloud computing is not only the compute power, there is database storage, application host, all those kind of stuffs we can do on top of cloud. And another main concept, I do not have to pay for everything. I just need to pay how much I have utilized. So pay as you go pricing. I have the option. I should be having lots of option. I mean, based on the option, I'll be chargeable and I need to pay on top of it. Now I'll be giving a simple fundamental example, which I used to give for all the batches. Suppose I'm using a laptop. Okay, currently I'm using my laptop. Laptop is nothing but a server, and I'm going to learn a new software, a visualization tool called Tableau. Tableau is a heavy software, and suddenly I found that I mean, while learning Tableau, just I got to know that the Tableau's particular version is requiring 8 GB of RAM and uh minimum suppose 500 GB hard disks, and there should be some ROMs as well. So based on that, I'm trying to purchase a particular laptop to learn it. Okay, so I purchase laptop. I need to pay full price there in the market, and I purchased it. Over there, I have installed Tableau, and whenever required, I can launch Tableau and I can run Tableau and I can do my dashboards and all over there. Okay, so 1 year it was fine. Suddenly, in the next year, Tableau launched a new version and the requirement goes up. Maybe it's 16 GB of RAM with some external hard disk. I mean, not external, I mean, can be SSD or any other thing. So the requirement goes up, and you do not have the opportunity to enhance your ongoing computer. So what you have to do? You can do two things. You need to sell it, and you need to repurchase a new laptop again, which is not quite feasible to buy laptop yearly based on your software requirements. Okay. And suppose you are going to sell it, you cannot get the total price. Means suppose you utilized 1 year, so you are thinking, you need to start with the half price as a base price of this laptop, just like this. So instead of doing this, cloud is helping with lots of server. Suppose I am a member of AWS or Azure, any cloud providers. I can take a server or I can rent a server from Azure or AWS or GCP anywhere. Okay. I just need to pay for the server. Means how much hard disk I'm utilizing, what kind of OS I'm installing. Based on those parameters, something gets charged, some amount will be charged on monthly basis. It's also dependent how much time in a day we are utilizing it. Okay, so I can just launch a server. I can take the server from there, from rent, and I can install there my Tableau. Okay, suddenly my Tableau version has been upgraded. What I can do, I can sell the particular server. I can remove the server from my services list. Then what will happen? I do not have to remove my half price or just like this. Just I was in rent. I'm not giving the rent anymore on top of the server. Okay. So how much advantageous it is? I mean, it is. So just like the same way, it's not only this. So you're installing Tableau, then we can launch another server having big capacities and all. Then I can install Tableau over there and I can complete my requirements. So this is the way. I do not have to think about how much, I mean, selling price they should be giving and all. I was renting and my requirement is finished. Then I can sell it. Okay. At any time, whenever it's required. Okay. Some more people joined. Roshni. Hi, Roshni. Vikas. Uh, who is my test actually? Someone joined with the naming my test. So, I did. Is this your first class or you're already joining from the beginning? Hello. Okay, first class. So I'll be requesting. This is the end week of the ongoing session. Few more classes are left. I mean, this week should be the last week. Maybe starting from the next week, another new session should be started. I'll be requesting you to join from the next session, please. Okay. And the rest of the teams, I was just starting cloud cloud computing part as per our course structure. There should be basics of cloud should be covered, how cloud is effective for our data, I mean data engineers and all. So generally, if you are working in a particular company, cloud must be there, but most of the cases, maybe clouds can be handled by a different team. They are helping us with the services launched. We can launch their services maybe directly from the particular cloud provider's console, or maybe it can be another thing. I'll be showing the thing, what can be the things, and just you should be having the generalized idea. So how the console looks like. So all those things will be covered over here based on AWS. Okay, so just cover the first slide why we require clouds and all. Just like it will be helping us lots of price reduction, that I gave the example that whatever we are doing over here. Suppose I'm hosting the sessions from a particular laptop, but I'm changing my places and I forgot to carry my laptop. So what I can do over there, I need a particular server to show you lots of hands-on. If I have the AWS subscription, then I can quickly launch a VM over there, means virtual machine, which is just like a server. And I can just open it. Suppose this one, let me just show my screen. Yeah. So here is a remote desktop option, remote desktop. So I purchased the server there and I have the login ID and password. I can quickly connect to the desktop and I can show you all the hands-on part there. So I just need a particular computer. This is not mandatory. This laptop is required that time. So this is the thing. We should be having lots of flexibility nowadays. Okay. And the particular hardware related issue that I told, a software requires much more hardware capabilities and all. So which will, I mean, just like my laptop I purchased for Tableau Learning that I mentioned. So if the Tableau version is going higher, why should I repurchase my laptop again and again after selling it? I'm not getting good prices. So that is why the best scenario is we can directly launch a server from cloud and we can install Tableau there. This is not the only option actually. This is I'm lending our infrastructure from the cloud. We have another options as well that I'll be showing in this scenario one by one. Okay, maybe this particular picture is very, I mean, known to everyone, as I think all of us has little bit knowledge on top of cloud computing. So let me go to the slide. Okay, so over here you can see four segments are there. First one is on premises. Second one is infrastructure as a service. Third one is platform as a service. Fourth one is software as a service. So I'm giving the same examples one more time. So suppose I'm using Tableau. So the first thing, yeah, someone is telling something. Okay, I'm assuming it's noise. Okay, so the first one is on premises. So the first example that I was giving, I installed my software in my own laptop. So over here, just like I'm hosting a session, it's my on premises device. I did not lend anything. So whatever I'm doing directly on my machines, I need to manage all those things. You can see the same things are mentioned for each of the blocks, but the color codes are different. This is just like running an IT application. When I'm running an application, what kind of things are required? The applications is required. I'm coming from, down to up. Networking is required. Storage is required. Storage means hard disk is required. Servers is required. Virtualization is required. Operating systems are required. Middleware is required. Runtime, data is required. Applications. And the topmost thing is application is required. So when my application is ready, then I can fulfill my requirement. Okay. So in on-premises device, just like my own device, what I'm doing over here. Okay. So this kind of thing, I am managing all the things into my system. So whatever things are there, whatever subjects are there, I'm managing everything. Application data, runtime, middleware, operating system, everything I'm only maintaining. Okay. Now, so this blue color or green color, whatever you can see over here, this means you manage, means whatever users are using, they are managing it. Starting from infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, there, those are three different categories how we are taking the service from the cloud. Okay, so the first one means whether we are only taking advantage from cloud just to seek the infrastructure. This one, we are taking help from the cloud just for platform. You are taking clouds as a platform. The last one is software. We are directly taking software from the cloud itself. So what are the main difference? Just like I gave you the example, while installing Tableau, I can just take the length of a virtual machine or virtual server from cloud. That means that should be coming under this scope, infrastructure as a service. Okay, so I'll be taking help. I'll be taking storage, networking, servers, and virtualization from cloud providers. That is why you can see this thing means I'll be managing software implementation, data inside Tableau, runtime, middleware, operating system everywhere, everything. So infrastructure as a service means I'll only take this server part. Okay. And the rest of the stuffs, this thing is under cloud's control. Orange things is under cloud control, and this thing is under my control. Not only mine, just like the client who is using the cloud. If we are using this thing as a platform as a service, then I'm taking advantage of networking, storage, servers, virtualization, operating system, middleware, runtime as well. So all those things I'm taking help from cloud provider, and I just only think about the application and the data. Okay. Now at the last part, software as a service, I do not have to think which is the particular server. Okay, I do not have to think about the software itself. Suppose some patching needs to be activated, some plugins needs to be installed in Tableau. I do not have to think about it. It's totally responsibility. Responsibility should be going to the cloud provider itself. They should be giving the entire software. I just need to click and launch it. Okay, if something happens to the software, for this scenario, I need to check what happens. For this scenario as well, I need to check what happens with the software. But over here, I do not have to bother about it because I'm taking software as a service. The software should be also supported by the cloud provider itself. Okay, so that is why the clouds, whatever clouds is giving us the services are categorized in three different parts. Infrastructure, they're providing only infrastructure, they're only providing the support on top of platform, and this one, they're giving support on top of the entire software. As for the common sense, we are understanding that this is much more valuable. So if you are directly taking any software from there, so the value of this, the cost or the pricing of taking this is much more higher than this one. So the price will be decreasing if we are going and taking infrastructure as a service. If we are going at the right hand side, as we are taking advantage much more components from cloud, it should be much more costlier. Okay. I hope the concept is clear, but if there is any doubt, please tell me now. Any doubt from anyone? No doubt so far? Okay. Few more slides. So what are the advantages on using cloud computing? I already mentioned this thing. Let me just quickly tell you. Easier IT system management, low upfront cost. The costing part I already mentioned. Why we should be having low upfront cost. Reduce downtime. The downtime is very, very low. Accessibility, accessibility means I can access it from anywhere. Just I need a good network connection. Okay, I should be having any laptop. I can directly connect it from a cafe anywhere. Just I need the network at my hand. I can launch my software at any time. I can host my web application at any time from anywhere. Okay, I should not have a dependency that I just need to log into my laptop only. Disaster recovery. It's also very, very important because the cloud providers, they are having lots of data centers along entire, in entire world. They are having lots of data centers along with a good connectivity. So, and they are also maintaining backup from each location with another. Suppose I have the main data center in Asia Pacific region. Suppose in Mumbai, I have my own data center, but whatever application I'm launching, whatever data I'm just putting it over there, they're also taking a backup which is hosted in a maybe in North Virginia in a different data center with a geographical location with a different geographical location. So suppose anything happens with the Asia Pacific's data centers, suppose there is earthquake, suppose there is flood, anything could have happened. So that can be causing the damage of the data center. That means we should be losing all the data or application. But as we have the data recovery systems, disaster recovery means we are having the same kind of backup in other region as well. So whenever it's required, we can take the advantage of this. Means whatever for the disaster, whatever losses happen for the software or maybe for the applications, we can take the same thing from another region. Okay. Another important part is scalability. Scalability means uh, I'm giving an example. So I'm installing a particular server. I'm using a particular server there. Over there in the server, I took suppose 500 GB hard disk. Okay. But after utilization of my data and all, my data is getting increased daily basis. So I thought I need to increase my hard disk a bit. Maybe 100 GB should be added. But maybe for our system, in my physical system, it's not a easy task to add another 100 GB. It can be possible, it cannot be possible based on the slot availability. But if you're using cloud, it should hardly take 3 to 5 minutes of time to add 100 GB of hard disk. Just some few clicks will be there and the loading time should be there. So it is very easy. And the time consuming is very less for scaling up or scaling down of a particular system. I'm just giving some examples, but it's useful of lot of scenarios. I'm giving you a particular scenarios, but it is useful for lots of scenarios. Lightweight device, as I mentioned that I do not have to carry big laptops over there. Just I need a gateway point. I just need maybe a particular laptop or maybe cyber cafe, anything to launch my component there. So that is why for carrying purpose, I do not have to carry lots of things. I can directly take the advantage from cloud. So it's lightweight devices. So that is why to adopt cloud, we just need to having an internet connection. We need to also check my security. Yeah, the third point is very important. Recurring monthly cost. So as we are using all those services, I need to pay properly monthly basis. So there is recurring monthly cost. I need to while suppose I'm just going to get a particular subscription in Azure or maybe in AWS. Okay, so that time I need to tag my credit card there, and the amount will be deducted from my account. Okay, for monthly basis. So that is why there should be a recurring monthly cost, and we need to track it properly. What kind of services I'm using, and what is the particular cost of the particular services and all. So those things we need to know first, and knowing that thing, we need to go ahead with the recurring costing part. We need to take this thing in our mind that this thing should be deducted at the end of my month. So is it fine for that or not? Okay. Suppose you do not know the particular costing part, and you choose a valuable services from one of the cloud provider, then it is not easy. I mean, you need to pay these things. So it is not easy to avoid this kind of cost if you are using these things by your own. I mean, you already have the accessibility and you already have the consent to use that thing. So, I mean, after 1 month, you must have to pay the same. Okay. Moving to the next slide. If there is any doubt or any stuck point, please stop me and ask me question. Okay. Now I'll be going to demonstrate you about AWS. How AWS, I mean, if you're quite new for the cloud, so that should be very, very helpful for you. So AWS, as I mentioned, there are the three cloud providers nowadays we are using in our projects or applications. Those are AWS. From Microsoft, we are having Azure, and from Google, we are having Google Cloud. Okay, so in our classes, let's take AWS. AWS is, I mean, the oldest one which came into the market. So for AWS console, how the console looks like, let me just quickly show you. Okay, so this is the console aws.amazon.com. Just if you have the credential or if you have the account, you can directly log in there. Okay, so while logging in, you can see there are two options, root user and IAM user. Okay, root user is who is the account owner. They can choose, they have to log in through the root user. Okay, and why IAM user is required? The topic is already there in the next slides, but let me tell these things currently now. So, suppose I'm owning a particular project. So I'm product owner. Okay, I am the product owner. I have suppose 15 developers. I have 10 support team members. Okay, maybe 5 data scientists. So that is why maybe total as a total 40 or 50 persons are there who are helping me for the IT part of my applications. Okay, and the end users, they are directly checking the websites. They do not need the access for the AWS components. So maybe 40 to 50 people, they are developing, they're supporting the applications at the backend side. So whatever, I am the root user, I am launching the components one by one, and the other people, suppose the developer, some of the developers required access for particular components from the cloud. Suppose I'm a database developer, so I only need the database related access in the cloud. Maybe someone is from web application, they only need particular components access. Maybe some VMs access they only require. Okay, so IAM user is nothing. Who is root user? I mean the main product owner. They can segregate access based on each of the component. The root user, they are launching suppose 30 new resources, means 30 new components in the cloud, and they are giving a security group for each of the component, and based on each of the security group a IAM role is been assigned. Okay, so suppose I'm only the developer of particular database application, then the root user will be limited my access only on top of this database services. Then I'll be just choosing IAM user. I'll be giving the account ID, which account I'll be going to log in, and maybe my own SSO login, or maybe I should be receiving any user ID and password. Based on that, I can log in it. IAM means identity management. I'll be telling you the same thing in next slides. Just like what I mentioned, based on the particular requirements, maybe the data scientists, they do not require all the things. They just need a particular component's access. So their access should be controlled by the IAM, identity and management, and they can, when they will be logging in through IAM user, they only having the access. They should be having the access only top of that databases service only, components only. Okay, they will not be trying to see other another components. Okay, others component they should not be having the access. Okay, moving to the slides. I hope that is understandable. And by the same way, we can log in into the console. When we are successfully logging into the console, how it looks like? The console should be looking like in this way. Okay. Over here at the right hand side, we can see the default, uh, location, or you can see the data centers available. Right hand top corner, there's a drop down. It's not burgeoning. Okay. And we can also see what are the available data centers are there for AWS. You can scroll and we can check. Okay. Now, while launching a particular component, suppose I want to launch S3 bucket. Okay. And during that time, I have to also choose which particular location my data will be residing. Obviously, the general thing should be I need to choose the thing nearer to me. If we choose this thing, then the lagging, there can be a bit lag. If I choose something, some particular data center which is uh, the distance is much more than that of, I have the option choosing this thing to my nearest one. So there can be some difference. Maybe it can be a lag, but the lag is very minimal. So that is why the best thing we should be choosing the data center should be nearest to my location. Okay. And the next thing, some of the components are not there for all of the available data centers. So for that time, I need to be cautious that whether this is there. Even we also noticed that the pricing is also different. It's difference among different region. Okay, so we can also check and compare the same thing before launching or before taking any one product from here. Okay, so based on the location or the data centers, those are the parameters we need to check. And after checking this thing, we can launch our components. Okay, moving to the next slides. In the left hand, the black ribbon, we can see services. If we click on services, what are the different services AWS is providing? We can see it over here. So just like compute services, under compute services, we have these many components. We have blockchain services, we have satellite services, quantum technologies, storage services, management and governance services, analytics services. So in each of the services, we have lots of components. So the architect or the product owner, they need to decide which particular component we need to use for a particular project. They'll be deciding, then we need to choose it and start the work. We need to choose it, we need to spin up this thing. When the components are ready, we are ready to use those components for our project development purpose. Okay, and we can also see those things in the left hand panel. Just click on services, all services, and we can see those things over here. Okay, you can see lots of services are available. There is a search option. At the topmost section in the middle, there is a search option. We can directly search for a particular component. Suppose I do not have a particular, I know the component name, component or resource, any name we can tell. So we do not know what is the name of the resource or what is the name of the particular component name. So what we can do, we can directly search it over there. Suppose I need a EC2 server. So directly you can search EC2 and press enter. Whatever EC2 currently I'm using, I can see this thing in below section. Okay. So you can directly search with the components directly from here. Okay. Now I'm giving a few things. I mean, just like for analytics purpose, what are the different tools are available? For analytics, suppose we have Amazon Athena, Amazon EMR, Amazon Redshift, Amazon Kinesis. So those are different AWS services available in AWS console. Now, which kind of services I need to use? That should be totally dependent on the product owner as well as the product architect. They need to decide based on the prices as well as based on the data handling capability. They need to choose which kind of services should be spinned up. Okay. For the data, like we have S3 bucket, S3 glacier, AWS lake formation, AWS glue, all those important components are available there. For compute services, we are having AWS EC2, AWS Lambda, Elastic Beanstalk, AWS Fargate. Okay, even I did not use lots of component. There are, I mean, more than 100 components available in AWS. So whichever is required, or maybe as an architect, I need to know the components. If I'm the architect, I'm just having the responsibility for architect, then I need to utilize all those components. Okay. If I'm just only the developer, maybe I'm only the developer of business. I mean, the data engineering part. I'm doing the analytics part or just like this. Then I should be having the knowledge only on top of the data. Okay. So nowadays, I mean, you can also see based on your role, you can have respective certifications, courses, or it can be certification for each of the cloud providers. Suppose you want to be expertise on top of AWS data engineer perspective. So there are roles for data engineers in AWS. So you should be having, if you are just going ahead with the certification exam, you should have to have the knowledge for all the database services available on top of AWS console. Okay. Suppose you are doing the machine learning courses and you want to get it certified from AWS or Azure. Suppose from Azure only. Then what you have to do, you should be checking Azure portal. You need to launch the components only on top of machine learnings and you need to focus on top of it. So based on the things, if you are just trying to have the role of architect, or maybe you are directly working with the product owner, then you need to have the idea for all the components, how the components are utilized, what are the advantage of one component than another. So based on the scenario of the project, based on the data on top of the project, you need to take the decision which component to take, which component to remove. Okay. So that is why uh, you can have the knowledge for different components available in AWS consoles based on your roles and responsibility, how you are going to utilize it. Okay. Okay. So there are database services as well. Just like I told at the first day, in the database services, we should be having relational database as well as non-relational databases as well. Underneath relational database, we are having Aurora, Postgres, MySQL, Oracle. All those databases are available in AWS. Nowadays, it's getting increased. Okay, there is not only Aurora, Postgres, MySQL, Oracle, Redshift. Lots of databases are available. Relational database. but we do not have to think about launching the software. I mean, launch, create, I mean, lending the virtual machines there, installing the software there. Sorry. We directly need to think about the database to launch there. Database should be ready for us. Just we need to think how much backend storage should be there to store the data, and we can directly launch our database services. Apart from the relational database, we are having DynamoDB, Elasticsearch, Neptune. Those are non-relational database. Okay, to store the non-relational or NoSQL data. Okay, so this is very important part. Cost management. Before launching any component, we need to check the component's pricing structure. Otherwise, uh, suppose I launched a heavy component, I do not have the idea how much price I need to pay. So that is why. So this is one of the example I'm going to show. This is a launch, I mean, calculator for AWS. This is for EC2. EC2 is nothing but the server. Okay. Suppose I'm going to launch some server. Before that, I want to check the pricing part. I'm just going to show you how pricing is looking like. So this is a particular series of instances of EC2 server, just like T4G.nano. You can see in the top sections, the region. We can change the region. Suppose the region is fine. I don't want Ohio. Maybe I'm checking from Northern Virginia, or we can see any other. Suppose Canada Central. It's fine. So just choose the location. Yes. So you can see as of now, let's see T4G.nano instance type. The family is T4G. Now in the below section, just you can change the thing from here as well. Okay. There are lots of instances available, just like when you are purchasing any mobile. So a particular mobile should be having lots of series. So you now need to choose based on the specification what kind of series you need to use. Similarly, over here we have lots of series for each of the servers. Each series is having its own capability. Okay, so you can see now over here. So this is different instances T4G.nano. It is having 2 CPU and the memory allocation is 0.5 GB, means the RAM is 0.5 GB. Okay, so if we use this kind of system, this kind of server, the hourly cost should be 0.0046 USD. Okay, so how much cheaper it is, you can see, but the CPU is very less, the RAM is very less to run a good application. So there you need to change the CPU, you need to increase the RAM size as well. So you can choose the thing over here, just like a normal, filtering part. Okay, choose the thing, number of CPU, maybe 8 core. I need 8 core. Now see the pricing part. Okay, you can change the thing from here and you need to decide the pricing part over here. There are lots of pages available. I did not go through all the things. Yes, you can see when we are going or increasing the pages, the memory size is increasing. Okay, over here, you can see 4096 GB means this much RAM size is also available over here. But the cost should be increased. The hourly cost is 29 USD. So based on which kind of instances I'll be using and which kind of instance I'll be going to launch, I need to think about the cost implications as well. Okay, so this is how the calculator looks like for AWS. I hope there's no doubt, but if there is any, please tell me, ask me question. But this is very simple, not too much technical, but if you are going to have the interest on top of cloud, you can be a cloud expertise as well. So based on that, I mean, in the data engineer field, some persons can also join as a cloud, maybe cloud architect or cloud based data, I mean, data engineer as well. You can be the developer over there. Okay, or you can be the architect. Architect is the most, I mean, uh, prestige, not prestigious. I'll be telling. I mean, a particular architect, he or she should be having all the knowledge on top of the cloud provider, because you directly have to sit with the product owner. You need to discuss with them based on their requirement. You need to choose which component is suitable. That is why all the components, you need to know all the components. They will be giving some scenario. Then you need to choose to fit of the scenario which component you need to launch. Okay, the architect should be having all those knowledge while launching a product. Okay, now if you are quite new for AWS, and you want to launch the AWS, or if you just for demonstration purpose you want to see AWS, so the cloud provider, not only AWS, for all the cloud providers, they should be having their free tier services. Okay, so just like for AWS, they are having free tier services, and they will be giving some of the services with free of cost, with limited, I mean, for some limited components, they are giving this kind of free tier services. Let me show you. AWS free tier services. Okay, if I just open this thing, okay, it's 12-month free. And but when I'm in free tier services, I cannot use all the components, because most of the components, mainly the expensive components, those should not be coming under free tier services. Just like you can see, if I'm in free tier services means 12 months free tier services, I can use. If I want to check a EC2 server how it looks like, then it is available for me for 750 hours usage. But I cannot use all kind of instances. I can only use few of the instances, just like T2.micro, T3.micro. If I'm using Linux OS operating system, then I can use these two instance types, because those are not utilizing much more CPU and RAM. That is why they are giving us with this pre-tier. Okay. If I'm using Windows, I can also use the same thing. T2.micro, T3.micro instances. But it's not available for all the region. You can see for some region, you can see those are available for free tier. For some, they are not. Okay. So we have the option of free tier services. For AWS Lambda, I can trigger till 1 million code. Okay. So those are the in free tier services. Those are the things we can use in first 12 months. After that, it will be charging us based on, if we just continue our same account, then it will be charging based on which particular component we are using. Okay, so we can go through. If we are quite eager to launch our own account, then we can avail the free tier services. But before that, please check what are the free tier services and how much, I mean, what are the things I can utilize, how much thing I can check it from there and directly see it in free tier services. Okay. IAM part I already told that except root user, the other people who are using particular components from particular account, they are having, they will be at, I mean, tagged with particular roles. Okay. So suppose I am a developer roles on top of database. I can access only the database. If I'm logging to AWS console, my visibility should be till database. I cannot see all the components. So that can be controlled by the identity access management. This is called IAM. IAM is itself a component or resource inside the cloud provider. It's not only for AWS, all the particular cloud providers, they are using this kind of identity access management. Okay, just for the accessing part for different roles. CloudWatch. So what I'm utilizing in my cloud, I can see my traffic, network traffic, um, I mean, you can see all the parameters I have put, average CPU utilizations, all the things I can see in CloudWatch. CloudWatch is one of the services itself inside one account. So you can see based on my account usage, I can check the things from there. Cloud watches. Yes. Another important thing is VPC and networking. So whatever component I'm utilizing, suppose I need to think about the networking part over there. If I'm using directly a software, we do not have to think about the networking part. Let me quickly show you the first slides, I mean the third slides again. So over here, the networking part, generally we do not need to follow for any of the services. Especially if we are using any software, we do not have to think what kind of VPC I need to tag my my particular servers and all. Okay. But VPC and networking means each of the components or each of the services should be tagged with the IP address. So that is why the thing should be attached with the networking or virtual private cloud. Okay. Otherwise, I cannot, suppose I spin up a particular server. I did not tag a VPC. I did not tag a IP address. So the particular servers is already there. I purchased it, but I cannot able to access it from my home location because the particular thing is not in the network. Okay, so that should be controlled by VPC and networking part. And this is the architectural diagram. So nowadays, if the product owners are working with the architect, they need to design this kind of things. Just like they want the data to be flow from source to target, just like a ETL tool. Okay, so they are creating this kind of flow diagram. The data sources should be there. First, it will be put into S3 bucket. Then by EMR. EMR is nothing but a big data tool. Okay, it consists of multiple machines. They will be processing the data parallelly. Okay, after processing the data, they are keeping it into S3 bucket. Then on top of S3 bucket, Redshift is the relational database management system. They are creating data warehouse, data marts and all, and saving it over here itself. And on top of Redshift data, we have one analytics tool called QuickSight. On top of it, they are creating dashboards, charts, and graphs. Okay, so these things are there, and there are this kind of data. I mean, Athena data is there, Athena query aggregate. So on top of S3 bucket, we can do this kind of queries by Amazon Athena. Okay, so this is just like a flow chart or flow diagram, what kind of components I'll be going to use and all. And based on that, the particular product owner is utilizing the components. This is how the things looks like. Okay. So any doubts so far from anyone? Tomorrow I'll be showing you how to launch. I'll be picking up two important components. One is EC2, another one is S3. So how to launch a new component. Okay. I mean, if I launch one component, you should be having idea how we can launch the other components as well. What are the input parameters to launching a component? But I mean, all those things should be shown based on the screenshots only. I have suitable screenshot step to show you the step-by-step configuration part. Okay. Okay. So this is the last slide for today. Any doubt so far from anyone? No doubt.
Can you share it in today's presentation?
This presentation, yeah, sure.
Uh,
I'm just attaching it in the chat itself. I'm closing it and attaching it over there. Okay, so that you can access it. Okay, just give me some time. Okay, I think you can now download it. Okay, okay. So any other thing from anyone? If you're quite interested, you can just launch a free test services as well by your own. But keep, I mean, check what are the free test services, what kind of things you want to, I mean, learn and all. So tomorrow we'll be showing launching a EC2 server. EC2 is the main and I mean one of the important thing in AWS console. So you can check it over there. Okay. So that's all
yeah,
for today's
no doubt
session.
from my side.
Okay. So let's
Uh,
connect tomorrow. We have some
Thank
more
you, sir.
insights on top of two different components on top of AWS. Thank you. Bye bye.